What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. I'm your host, Miko, joined by my guy, Morgan Cannon, and this is your go-to place for all things Lions related. That includes news, updates, and what we're doing today, with that being analysis, doing our Scout the Opponent video, looking ahead to the Buffalo Bills, who the Lions will play this Sunday. And Morgan, a lot of people are talking about this being a possible Super Bowl preview, and considering how both teams have been playing up to this point in the season, I can definitely see why.
Yeah, bro. Like Josh Allen is balling right now. Like to put it simply, like watching him is must see TV. Like that game last week, week 14 against the Rams. The Rams won 44-42. Sean McDermott, Bills head coach, had some questionable decisions that I didn't really. I was like, man, because AFC, I naturally want them to win. So yeah, I was like, man, Sean, coached a little bit scared, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be mean or accusatory, but coached a little scared, and it ended up biting him a little bit. But it was just it was a duel, man. Like the Rams knew McVay got really, really aggressive on offense because he was like, I know this defense isn't stopping this dude, because he was in the zone. Did you watch most of that game?
No, yeah, I watched all of that game, and that's like I was gonna say, like, it's very much that, like, watching Sean McVay coach that game. Again, not saying they're the same person, but I think we can start to see Dan Campbell's influence on the NFL, where it's like, if you are a team that's comparable, again, I'm not even saying that like Buffalo is that much better than the Rams right now, but as a Rams team that's trying to get back into the hunt, and that you have the weapons to, like, you at least have the offensive weapons to hang with Buffalo, you had to pull out all the stops. And so you look at how that game plays out, and yeah, Matthew Stafford does a great job with the offense, getting Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp really going. Kyron Williams has a good game. But then you look at, like, again, I could hear Dan Campbell, like, in the back of my head in a game like this, where it's like, hey, we're going to need some takeaways, or we're going to need something special from special teams. And that's what the Rams got. And that's why, like, this game kind of goes in the Rams' favor, right? Like, a blocked punt is literally the difference between them winning and losing this game.
Exactly. Like, and it was going to be that kind of game. You could kind of tell from the beginning, and it just went back and forth, back and forth. So it was fun to watch. I'm sure it wasn't fun to lose if you're the Bills, because that's you go to the wire, your offense plays amazing. But yeah, to your point, I really do think coaches are starting to get with it a little more. Back in the day, there weren't games like in the 90s and early 2000s. There weren't a lot of 40 to 44 to 42 games. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
There was a lot of low scoring bouts, man. I know we sound like dinosaurs right now, but for the younger crowds watching this, it's true. Like, if you go back, pull up some like 2003 Lions tapes if you can, and watch that, and you're like, dang, this is a different game. But yeah, you're just going to have to get aggressive. And I think it's going to be one of those weeks for the Lions this week, if I'm being honest. I hope they don't give up 42 to the Bills. That'd be preferable. But we'll get into it, man. Josh Allen's just, in my opinion, he's an MVP pick. Like, for me, if I had a vote, just because the Bills, they're still a good team. It's not a dominant team like it has been. Like, I don't know that this roster's their best in the last like 5 or so years. But it's a good enough team, and he's just elevating them, right, Miko?
Well, I would argue that this is probably their best team, but it's not the most. It's not their most star-studded team.
True.
Like,
okay, fair.
You look at you look at how they're playing. Again, they lose last week, but they're still 10-3, right? And this is a season where they were coming into it after losing Stephon Diggs, and we were really questioning, like, okay, like, who's your wide receiver one? And Josh Allen has literally gone through this season like it doesn't matter. Like,
I'm him. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Again, he is, bro.
He's been very much on, like, again, I'm gonna give credit to him, like, on that Matthew Stafford tip, where it's like, I don't care who my number one is, like, I can make any of these guys be a number one receiver this week. And so whether it's been Matt Collins, whether it's been Shakir, whether it's been Keon Coleman, he's made them
the
all work.
Dalton
Kincaid, yeah, like, he's made them all work at all different times. And so, if you're the Lions, like, that's something that you have to contend with. It's like, I think that's what'll make this matchup difficult, but at the same time, it also makes your job somewhat easy as a defense as well, because I think the Lions are going to do the thing that they've done to everybody. They're going to make you one-dimensional. They're going to basically shut down your run game, and it's going to, like, basically be like, hey, Josh Allen is going to have to beat us. If you're going to put up 400 yards of offense on this defense, 300 of it's going to have to come from Josh Allen throwing the ball, and the other 100 are going to have to come from Josh Allen scrambling. Like, they're not going to, I don't think they're going to allow a guy like James Cook, again, who's a very talented running back, but they're going to try to make them limited because Josh Allen in himself is such a handful.
Yeah, and I don't really like when I watch Buffalo, and I've watched Buffalo a lot this year. They're on TV a lot, and I just like to watch them play. I like Josh Allen; he's a good player, man. But they're not an overly physical team, so I do anticipate like James. It'll probably be tough sledding for James Cook, just because it has been for everybody. Bills fans that that you're watching this, go look up the numbers. It all backs it up, man. The Lions devote resources like time, effort, blood, sweat, tears to stopping the run because that's their biggest thing. And then they're like, okay, we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
But then Josh Allen just makes so many plays, like just that shouldn't be made. And it really boils down to what we're going to get into when we get to that segment of the video, just not, rushing with integrity. And we'll get into that when we bring up the clips. You can't limit, or you at least have to limit those back-breaking plays when it's 3rd and long. And you have everything covered up, and then Josh Allen runs for 12 yards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to limit that.
Facts. And so Josh Allen is the reason why, again, if the Lions were to lose this game, it's going to be because it's this MVP level type of play from Josh Allen. On the flip side, though, if the Lions, but on the flip side, if the Lions want to have a chance at winning this game, I think it's very plausible when you look at Buffalo's defense, because I think it's a defense that is good, Morgan. Not sitting here trying to say it's a bad defense, but teams have been able to run on them the last couple weeks. I think I did the numbers. They've been averaging over 120 yards a game given up when it comes down to running backs. And so you look at a running back duo of Gibbs and Montgomery in this offensive line, that's something that's going to lean very heavily in the Lions' favor. So, I mean, we can kind of jump into it with the very first play here, because the Rams did this a lot last week of basically getting their offense going on the ground with both Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. And if you give David Montgomery or you give a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs these type of lanes, these aren't just 11 and 12-yard gains. These are house calls.
Yeah, and the Rams run the ball effectively. Kyren Williams is a really good running back. McVay's one of the best in football at scheming up good power zone. He doesn't matter. McVay gets it done. So watch the displacement here, though. This is what would concern me if I'm a Bills fan. Watch the displacement with 90. So the left guard for LA is going to get into him, and then going to move, and he's going to wall him off. And once that's just one half of the alley, right? And that was a big old lane. And like you said, if this is Jahmyr or Monty, to be honest, this could have been worse, because Jahmyr can make people miss in space, and then he can hit that gear 6 where he says, we'll see you later. But yeah, man, that would be concerning if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. What about you?
Yeah, though, this is the stuff that you don't want to see, because again, this is where, a Ben Johnson type offense can start to basically play to their strengths, right? Where it's they can start to bludgeon you and basically keeping your defense on the field, which again keeps the ball out of Josh Allen's hand. But it also opens up it also opens up your entire defense to now play action. And that's when, guys like Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra and deep shots to Jame will become a factor. And it's all because they've been bludgeoning you with these running attacks. And with a guy with Monty, that's the type of play that you would expect to see from Monty, right up the gut between the guard and the center. This next play is kind of where Jahmyr would start to kind of shine. And again, Buffalo has some really good edge defenders. You have Greg Rousseau, you have Von Miller, but again, the Rams still found success on the edges. And if you give Jahmyr these types of angles, he's proven time and time again that he will take this to the house.
Yeah, and Matt Milano was a really good player for a long time. And to be honest, I'm not totally up to speed with how he's looked this year, but this is a bad look, man. He gets into space here, and Kyren hits him with the okie doke, man. That's bad.
Yeah.
When you're watching film, that's something you watch. You're like, dang, that was pretty tough. That's a tough rep for me. But yeah, I'm right there with you. That could be, again, it could be worse. And this isn't even Kyren, actually. Sorry, this is 22 for LA. So, but either way, really good carry. And look, if you look at DeMar Hamlin, man, I'm not trying to pick here, but again, getting walled off. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of fight here. So watch 70 for the Rams. 79, excuse me. He's going to climb, and he's just going to kind of it's just easy for him to wash Hamlin inside, and you're just walling him off. And right there, you got the running back in space,
And again, this is a Rams offense that their offensive line is at least healthy now, right? It's healthier than they were at the beginning of the season. But you would definitely take a Detroit Lions offensive line if you had to choose between these two groups. So you imagine getting a Penei Sewell, a Kevin Zeitler in those types of situations. Like you just mentioned, like they climb to the second level, they're walling off, safeties and corners. A guy like Panay is going to even be moving to the third level, right? Like he's going to basically be that caravan that's basically ushering a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs into the end zone. And so whether it's a play like that, like the first play that we looked at, where it's something more up the gut, that could be a David Montgomery type of play. A play like we just watched with something that's a little bit more on the outside, that could be a Jahmyr Gibbs type play. Even Puka Nacua had a couple like sweeps and carries and things like that. And they really put a lot of stress on the Bills, like edge players to be able to hold contain. Like that's where you get the threat of an Amon Ra or a Jamison William on those types of carries. And so like if you're Buffalo, you have to be heavily focused on stopping the run when it comes to the Lions.
Yeah, you're going to have to devote resources, that's for sure, because you can't, like, yes, the Lions are prolific passing the ball, one of the best in football, but they're probably the second best if you look at a lot of metrics in running the football, and it's because of their offensive line. If you're a Buffalo fan coming watching this, yeah, the Lions offensive line is widely considered the best in football, especially when it comes to running the ball, and they show you why when they really get going. Like Ben Johnson treats Penei Sewell like priority one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
It all starts with Penei, which is crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, so I mean, looking back at that game last week, I mean, Buffalo gave up 42 carries for 137 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, you give the Lions those types of numbers, you're gonna have I think you're gonna have a really hard time to hang around. Obviously, again, having Josh Allen makes it easier, but at the same time, like again, to be fair in this situation, Morgan, like the Bills are still 10-3, and like I can sit here and say like, hey, they've been giving up rushing yards to a lot of people. They've still found ways of winning. And I do think that's because that defense can still have their moments. And at the end of the day, like that's all you need your defense to do is have more good moments than they do bad moments. And when you have a guy like Von Miller on the edge,
still the difference maker.
Exactly.
Yep, he really is, man. And especially, I'm not trying to be mean here, but you got to get more from 84. So whatever tight end this is, in line with the right tackle. And this is just a poor effort. Like Vaughn doesn't even look at him. He's looking at the back the whole time, swims him, makes him look silly, and is able to make the play. So they still have good players. Like we mentioned, Matt Milano. Mm-hmm. They have some pieces, and there's like you said, Miko. There's a reason they're 10-3 for sure. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, AJ Epinesa, Greg Rousseau, TJ Rapp, or shoot, what's the safety? Tyler Rapp.
Taylor Rapp.
Taylor Rapp. Thank you.
Taylor
I was gonna say, I know it's just with a T, and I know it's like it was one of those. So yeah, like they have some really good defenders on this Buffalo defense. And again, if these guys are locked in, if they're able to win their one-on-ones, like again, this is how you make life difficult for the Lions. You put them in a lot of third and long situations and a lot of predictable passing situations, to where you can tee off on the quarterback and make Jared Goff's life a little bit more difficult when it comes down to extending these drives.
Yeah, and make no mistake, because that's a great point, Miko. Von Miller still is, what to deal with off the edge, especially in like an obvious passing situation, because that's when he can hit you with that ghost rush, which is one of my favorite things to watch him execute. Basically, when for those not familiar with edge terminology, it's when he's pressing the edge, like he's like going to speed rush and try to beat your hands, and he fakes like he's going to show your hands, and he just dips that shoulder incredibly low, right under the grasp of this like 6'6" tackle, and he's at your quarter. That's how he gets all those strip sacks through these years. You know what I mean? Hitting that ghost rush, hitting that swim, that rip. So he can still be a problem, man. I'm right there with you for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, again, the next play that we're going to look at is very much the same of the last one, right? Like just his ability to be able to beat. So the other one was like him beating a tight end. He can still do it to tackles too, where he can just beat that inside shoulder, start to cave the pocket from the outside, and again, cut off any type of cutback lane for your running back.
Yeah, and he's smart. You see him starting to cheat towards the B gap, right? Like as he sees what's happening, he's like, okay, there's motion. I'm going to cheat towards the B gap. And then he splits the gap. He's able to get between 69 and 70. And that is Kyren Williams this time, because, yeah, that's a problem, right? When he knows what's coming, because he's been around a long time now, man. I feel like it's been ages since Von Miller came out of Texas A&M. Yeah, he can still cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, and again, this is where the Rams specifically, like getting a guy like Kyren Williams going in the red zone is very similar to what the Lions like to do with both of their running backs. Honestly, like I think a couple years ago, it was heavy for like Monty, like, oh, they want to get Monty going in this area. they will trot out either Gibbs or Montgomery in that type of situation. But the Bills aren't going to just, again, start to play pass or anything like that. They will still be very much locked in to your rushing attack and still try and, basically take that part of your game out as well.
Yeah, it'd be ideal if you're Buffalo to try and make the Lions one-dimensional. But all I'll say to that is good luck.
I was going to say, I think a lot of teams have found that more difficult to do for 4 quarters, right? I think that's also the other point of it, right? You have to do it for 4 quarters. The same thing is going to be said, though, for the Lions and Josh Allen. Containing him and keeping him looking human for 4 quarters is going to be a tough task. And something that Aaron Glenn has done really well so far, throughout the season with this defensive unit, no matter who he's at in there, is they may have a rough first half, but they've always found a way to rallying and containing things in the second half. This is going to be a huge task when you're talking about someone like Josh Allen that obviously is a huge threat with his arm, being able to make big plays in the passing game. But if you lose contain, like you were saying earlier in the video, Morgan, you lose contain or you're just not disciplined in your rush lanes, he will gash you.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is why I picked this facet of Allen's game to focus on for our video, is because I don't think Buffalo is going to have a ton of success with traditional running plays against the Lions. That's just my opinion. It's been proven through 13 games now.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Josh Allen he's just capable of making plays like this, and I think it's going to be out of necessities. You see here, is it Byron Young? Yeah, crashes inside at the last second, allows Allen to get the edge, hits a little pump fake, runs around a guy, and this was 2nd and 25 for Los Angeles. So really, you're like, okay, we're only 2 downs, hopefully getting off the field here real quick. And now it's 3rd and manageable, all because someone loses contain and then he's out here making plays.
Yeah, this is exactly what you don't want to happen if you're Aaron Glenn in this defense, right? You want to be able to keep him in the pocket. You're going to want to be able to, again, it's not necessarily even about getting sacks all the time, but just making it difficult for him to create plays on the ground and also to limit, again, how many big plays he can have in the air just from extending plays like this. And so to your point, I mean, you look at the Bills' numbers last week in terms of rushing, 103 yards rushing, 82 of those came from Josh Allen.
LA did an excellent job otherwise, right? Because they tried to get James Cook going a little bit, but it just wasn't happening. LA was defending the run pretty well, and yet you still give up. And there are so many backbreakers. Like this next one, 12 seconds left in the 3rd quarter, 3rd and 10. So it's a too high look from LA, and you just got to keep crunching the pocket down, man. You can't let this happen. You do a good job initially, and then Kobe Turner, 91, just jumps slightly out of his rush lane, and then it's a big gain. And to add insult to injury, it's a horse collar at the end. So another 15, huge play.
Yeah, again, stuff that you just can't have happen, and hopefully having Aleem back this week, hopefully having Levi and DJ Reader back this week, you can limit some of these type of mental mistakes. Because while the Lions had a really good performance from a lot of those reserve players against Green Bay, Josh Allen is just different. This is a different animal. This is something where, again, you get overly excited in your rush and you think oh, I'm going to get a sack here. And you just slightly get out of your lane, like you said with Kobe Turner here. And the next thing you know, he's past you rushing down the field for 15 yards.
Yeah, and then 15 more tacked onto it. So they're, dang near in field goal range. Right here, you had them 3rd and 10. So that's just a backbreaker. If the Lions were to lose this game, I think Josh Allen would have to make probably at least a few plays like this where it's just for me, being in there at the game, everyone's loud and we're excited. And then a play like that happens and you can hear a pin drop and everyone's just sitting down
yeah. And I think that's what you want to avoid from happening. Again, it would be great if you can get sacks, right? It'd be great if you can get hits on him and push them further and further back from getting first downs and things like that. But at the end of the day, you just want to make life uncomfortable for him, right? Constrict that pocket, like you're saying. And if he's going to throw the ball, make it heavily contested throws, because we know this Lions defense, they're going to play a lot of man coverage, and that can be to their benefit or it could be to their detriment, because it does open up the door, Morgan, for these types of things to happen when you're playing so much man coverage.
Yeah, and this is when the game had devolved into a shootout. It was 11 minutes to go in the 4th quarter, 2nd and 5. The defensive tackle dips inside just a little bit, leaves his feet. Allen gives a little pump fake, and he's off to the races. And to your point, Miko, this is a huge play because the only person looking at Allen is 48, the linebacker, And Allen quickly erases that angle because the rest of the DBs are in man coverage and everyone's got their back turned, right, for the most part, because they're in
Yep.
scramble drill. And so no one's even, you don't realize he's running until you hear the crowd. You hear that a lot of time from defenses. Like, if they're in man coverage, they're listening to it and they hear the crowd change and like, oh, I should probably turn around because something like this is happening. So again, a backbreaker, bro, just an absolute backbreaker.
Yeah, and these are the things that you want to be able to get off the field from, right? Like you don't want to be able to have these these drives extended just because, he's getting, I don't want to say a cheap, 10, 15 yards because like it's anything but cheap. It's him being explosive. It's him being able to make plays. And the difference between Josh Allen and some of these other rushing quarterbacks, like he doesn't dance a ton in the pocket, right? It's not like somebody that's just continuing to rush backwards and continuing to lose ground. Like he just waits for a lane to open and then he explodes through it. What I would hope that the Lions are able to do by being able to constrict that pocket, Josh Allen is still prone to making poor decisions. He hasn't made as many of them this season as he has in prior seasons, and maybe that's because the wide receiver talent isn't quite what it was in previous seasons. He's not, feeling like he has to throw jump balls to a Stephon Diggs and things like that. But I think if this game starts getting close, or if it's not even close, sorry, if this game starts to get away from the Bills, I think you could still see Josh Allen revert to that former version of himself where, okay, he starts putting way too much pressure on himself to make plays. And the next thing you know, you're making him force some really difficult throws to guys down the field.
Yeah, he's excellent at keeping his eyes downfield when he's navigating the pocket and like running around. That's where he can really kill you too. So yeah, you could force him into some bad decisions, especially if he feels like it's a shootout like it was last week for them. But I think we're going to get a tough test because I think Buffalo is going to come in. They don't want to lose 2 in a row. And the Lions hopefully are going to be a lot healthier this week. And yeah, hopefully we get a good game. I'm excited for the black jerseys again, get to break out the black Amon Ra. I'm excited. Let's get
Yeah,
it.
and I'm most excited for the Lions to be able to make a statement. Like I think you and
For
I have
sure.
talked about it the last couple of videos. Again, like there's been a lot of doubt and there's been a lot more questions about like, oh, is this really the best team in the NFL? Is this really the best team in the NFC? One of the best ways of proving it is going out and beating a team like Buffalo. That's actually going to be getting a little bit healthier. Like they do at least have a chance of getting Keon Coleman back for this game. They at least have a chance. I want to say Dalton Kincaid hasn't been playing, but if it's not him, I feel like it's another offensive player that they have that's been out. But Buffalo has a chance to come in here that's fully loaded, right? You have Amari Cooper, you have Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins has been making some big throws. So like whether it's your defensive line trying to hold contain or your corners and safety having to play against some really like feisty receivers out there, their hands are going to be full. And so it's going to be one of those all hands on deck type of situations. If you're someone that's been hating fourth down calls from Dan Campbell, buckle up because I feel like you might see even more of them this week because this does not feel like the type of game where Dan's going to play it conservative. It feels like he's going to try to be the aggressor if he can. And I think that's going to make this for a very, very interesting game this Sunday.
Yeah, especially with some of the decisions McDermott made last week, because I bet you Dan's sitting there thinking, oh, yeah, I got you.
I mean, yeah, and it's like I said, it's going to be interesting. I mean, again, they're in the afternoon primetime spot, so yep. America's Game of the Week type of situation. So it's going to be must see TV, and I think all eyes are going to be on this team. And depending on how it plays out, I mean, best case scenario, I mean, for the Lions, like, I mean, even if it's just a narrow win, I think it still says a lot about this team because, like I said at the top of this video, I think these are two teams that a lot of people are viewing as like, hey, these are the teams that could make it to the Super Bowl. And if you're the Bills, you're currently behind the Chiefs when it comes down to getting that number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, you're going to want to try to get back into the win column, like you were saying, Morgan, like so that they can kind of, still contend with the Chiefs and possibly have a chance of getting that first round bye. But the Lions are looking to do the same thing in the NFC. So definitely looking forward to this matchup.
Right. Interconference, a lot to play for. People are going to church it up as like a Super Bowl preview, but for the Lions, it's just another game, but it's a big one, Miko. I'm there with you. We're recording this Wednesday night, man. I wish I could wake up tomorrow and it would be Sunday, but it's only Thursday.
And we both hate Thursday games and like perfectly fine with not seeing another one of those for the rest of the season.
Yeah, bro. Very good point. Very good point.
But that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for taking the time to check us out. If you are looking for any more Lions content, like I said, you can always check out prideofdetroit.com. There are new articles being uploaded all the time over there. I'm sure there's going to be some deep dives into the Bills roster. So if there's anything else that you need to know about this Bills team, definitely go check out the website. I'm sure one of the writers has already put something together for that. And if you want to stay locked into it, any more of the video content we're pushing out, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Both of those things not only help out the channel, but it also helps you out because it makes it that much easier for you to find our content whenever we upload something new or whenever we decide to go live over here on YouTube. So with all that said, I'm Miko. He's Morgan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and go Lions.